Hi, I'm Katie Margraf from Sweet Pea Baking Company in Portland, Oregon, and you're watching The Everyday Dish. Today we're going to make caramel nut bars, which is something that we make in the bakery very often and is pretty popular. Even though it has a few steps, don't let that intimidate you because it's pretty easy and the end product is amazingly delicious. So first you're going to make the crust, which is just flour and brown sugar, whisked together. Just make sure you get all the big chunks of the brown sugar out. Get it well combined. And then after this, you're going to add earth balanced margarine. And if you're using the buttery sticks, make sure you cut them into smaller chunks before you put it in, because it'll be easier to cut it in. Just toss this in there. Pastry cutter. And just do this until you get uniform shapes that look like peas. So after you've got it looking pretty uniform, it doesn't have to be all perfect, I'm going to put it in to a parchment lined baking pan. And it will look really crumbly, but that's okay. It's supposed to look that way. You're going to have to smush it down with your hands. If you don't want to get your hands dirty, you can use a spatula. Spread it out so it's even. And then just smush. Make sure you get all the way into the corners until you don't have a lot of crumbly stuff on top anymore. If it doesn't look perfectly even and smooth on top, it's all right, because you're going to cover it with a bunch of other stuff. All right, and then you just pop it into the oven. So now that the crust is in the oven, you can go ahead and make your caramel sauce. I'm going to have water and boil it over medium-high heat. And while that's boiling, you can mix together brown sugar and flour. This doesn't have to be perfectly, completely mixed, just so you don't have a big lump of sugar on the bottom of the hot boiling pot so it doesn't burn. So after your water is boiling, you pour in your sugar and flour mixture and start whisking it right away until no lumps are there anymore. Make sure you keep this on medium-high heat. Even if it starts to boil up again or it looks like it might burn, just stir it. Now we're going to let this sit on the stove and make sure it does boil, and stir it just every once in a while, not constantly, just to scrape the stuff off of the bottom and the sides. And if it starts to boil up too much, you can turn the heat down a little bit. So this is going to thicken up quite a bit, and it will keep boiling. And just make sure you scrape it every once in a while. And when it gets to be a lot thicker than when you started from, that's when you can take it off the heat. You don't need to use a thermometer for this or anything. So when you're all finished cooking on the stove, move it from the heat and add in the rest of the ingredients. Margarine, a little salt, a little more flour just for some extra thickening, vanilla, and soy milk. And just whisk this all up together until it's smooth and there are no lumps. So after your crust is baked and your caramel sauce is ready, you just take it out and just dump your caramel sauce right on top of here. And using a pellet knife is the easiest way to do this, but you can use the back of a spatula or a spoon if you want. And just spread it evenly over the whole thing, making sure you get into all the corners. And then after you're finished with that, you add the nuts on top. Just sprinkle them evenly. And then back into the oven. So after baking the nut bars for 10 more minutes in the oven, I'm going to take them out, let them cool for a few minutes outside, and then you can put them in the refrigerator for about 2 hours until they're completely cool and hard enough to cut. And at the end, they'll look like this. And if you want this recipe, you can get it at everydaydish.tv. And if you just want to eat the bars, you can come to Sweet Pea Baking Company in Portland, Oregon. I'm Katie Margraf, and thanks for watching.